The Cleveland Browns walked into this week expecting a routine media session. But what unfolded during Tommy Rees' press conference was anything but normal. On the surface, he delivered the usual polished coaching talk. Phrases about building confidence, sticking to the process, and helping young quarterbacks grow. But when you actually listen between the lines, what he said and what he very carefully didn't say exposed a much deeper story hiding inside this organization. Because this wasn't just an offensive coordinator answering questions. This was a coach tiptoeing around a quarterback situation that's spiraling into one of the most confusing, politically charged, and honestly frustrating storylines in the NFL right now. And right at the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback with elite talent, real poise, and flashes of brilliance that have already left fans wondering why he isn't getting the full opportunity he deserves. Rees' wording felt rehearsed, overly cautious, and strategically designed to protect the staff's decisions rather than explain them. He praised Shedur's arm, his deep ball ability, and his composure under pressure, yet avoided making any concrete commitment about his future. He highlighted process over results, preparation over performance, and development over decision-making. But every sentence carried the same quiet message. The Browns are unsure, uncomfortable, and possibly unwilling to fully embrace the quarterback who might actually give them the best chance to win. What Rees revealed wasn't confidence, it was hesitation. And that hesitation says more about the Browns. But the moment he started talking, it became clear that this wasn't just another routine media appearance. This was a carefully constructed message, polished, safe, and designed to say a lot without actually revealing anything. And that alone tells you everything about the situation the Browns are juggling behind closed doors. Rees opened with what sounded like a textbook lecture on quarterback development. He talked about building comfort, creating confidence, tailoring the system, and calling plays that make young quarterbacks feel secure the moment they hear it in the huddle. On paper, it was solid coaching philosophy. It's the kind of answer that makes media members nod along, because none of it sounds wrong. But the more he spoke, the more you could feel there was something underneath the surface. He kept his tone light, but his wording was too deliberate. Every sentence would shape to avoid controversy, pressure, or accountability. He mentioned both quarterbacks, Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, in the same breath, never allowing one to stand above the other. He emphasized process over results, growth over performance, and patience over decision-making. It was smooth, almost too smooth, like a coach carefully sidestepping landmines he didn't want to step near. And that's where the real story hides. Because if everything were normal inside the Browns' quarterback room, if the staff truly believed in their plan, Rees wouldn't need to talk this cautiously. He wouldn't be choosing his words like someone navigating a political minefield. His answer was polished for a reason. He knows the outside world sees the same thing the fans see. A quarterback battle that feels forced, a development plan that seems uncertain, and a coaching staff caught between what they expected to happen and what's actually happening on the field. Rees tried to make it sound simple, but his own hesitation told the truth. Something inside this organization is unsettled, and no amount of polished coaching talk can hide that anymore. When Tommy Rees was pressed about what a full week of first-team reps could mean for Shedeur Sanders, you would expect a confident, straightforward answer. Something like, "He'll look sharper," or "We're excited to see his growth." But instead, the coordinator immediately shifted into what felt like carefully rehearsed damage control. He wouldn't project, wouldn't predict, and wouldn't commit to anything even remotely measurable. Rees repeated over and over that they don't put expectations on young players. He emphasized that the focus is entirely on process, not outcomes, and that they simply hope the week of preparation shows up on Sunday. On the surface, it sounded patient and supportive. But in reality, it sounded like a coach. This wasn't about protecting a young quarterback. This was about protecting the staff's flexibility. Rees kept the door wide open for any narrative they might need later. If Shadur plays well, they can say the process worked. If he struggles, they can point to the process still developing. Either way, the staff avoids accountability. And the quarterback who actually has something to prove, he gets stuck in a system that refuses to commit to him, even when he earns it. When Rees finally shifted the conversation towards Shedur's actual performance against the Ravens, something unexpected happened. The polished coach speak slipped just a little. For the first time in the entire press conference, his tone changed. He stopped sounding like a coordinator dodging landmines and started sounding like someone who had seen real, undeniable talent flash right in front of him. Rees praised Shadur in ways he hasn't praised Dylan Gabriel all season. He talked about his resilience, his composure, and how he stayed locked in despite being thrown into one of the toughest situations any rookie could face. He emphasized that Shadur kept them competitive deep into the fourth quarter, even when Cleveland's offensive infrastructure was falling apart around him. And when he mentioned those deep shots, the ones Shadur took with absolute confidence, you could hear the respect in his voice. These weren't empty compliments. These were the kind of specific, detailed acknowledgments coaches make when they know a guy has it. Rees highlighted Shedur's willingness to attack vertically, something Gabriel doesn't do. He talked about his ability to see the field, trust his arm, and give receivers a real chance to make plays. He even admitted that when Shadur launched that final deep ball to Elijah Moore, he genuinely believed it was going to be caught. That's not something you say about a quarterback you view as a temporary fill-in. That's something you say about a quarterback who can change games, and maybe even change franchises. But here's where the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. Rees clearly sees the talent, yet the organization still refuses to fully commit. His compliments made it obvious that Shadur brings something different, something explosive, something this struggling offense desperately needs. And still, every praise-filled sentence was wrapped in caution, hesitation, and subtle reminders that Gabriel remains the developmental plan. These compliments didn't just reveal Shedur's potential. They revealed the truth the Browns don't want to say out loud. They know Shadur is special. They just don't want to admit he might already be better than the guy they're invested in. The moment the conversation shifted toward the pressure Shadur faced in his debut, the entire tone of Tommy Rees' explanation changed. Suddenly, it wasn't just about quarterback development anymore. It became a breakdown of everything that went wrong around Shadur, and the picture Rees painted was honestly worse than anyone expected. Rees admitted outright that the Ravens changed their entire defensive approach the second Shadur entered the game. They blitzed more, disguised pressure better, and forced Cleveland's offense into chaos. But here's the part that exposes the truth. None of it was Shedur's fault. He wasn't missing protections. He wasn't blowing assignments. He wasn't confused by the scheme. The players around him were. Rees revealed that multiple protection breakdowns had nothing to do with the quarterback. Offensive linemen missed assignments. Checks weren't made correctly. Technical execution fell apart on multiple plays. In simple terms, Shadur walked into a collapsing pocket behind an unprepared unit, and instead of being supported, he was thrown to the wolves. And yet, he's the one being evaluated like the failure belongs to him. Think about how unfair that is. Shadur had 0 first-team reps, 0 chemistry with the starters, 0 preparation for a blitz-heavy defense. Meanwhile, the guy who did get all the reps, Dylan Gabriel, produced an offense ranked dead last in first down efficiency. But when the offense crumbled around Shadur, suddenly the scrutiny shifted to him instead of the system that had already been failing for weeks. Rees even admitted that Shadur improved within the game. His footwork stabilized, he trusted the pocket more, and he delivered strikes in the 2-minute drill. That's the kind of growth coaches beg for. But instead of leaning into it, the staff keeps treating him like an optional project. There's no hiding it anymore. Shadur didn't fail the system. The system failed Shadur. And Cleveland's unwillingness to acknowledge that is exactly why this situation feels so broken, and why Shedur's path forward in this organization is already more complicated than it should be. If there was one moment in the press conference that exposed the Browns' true intentions, it was when Tommy Rees was asked the simplest question of the day. In a perfect world, would you prefer to see more of Dillon Gabriel moving forward? It should have been a straightforward answer, especially if the staff genuinely believed the quarterback competition was open. Instead, what came out was the most revealing response of the entire session. Rees didn't commit to Shadur. He didn't lean into the momentum from Shedur's debut. He didn't even acknowledge the possibility that the rookie might have earned more looks. Instead, he immediately shifted back to Dillon Gabriel. Rees emphasized that Dillon was 7 for 10 before leaving the game, that his trajectory was right, and that the staff wants to continue developing him. Notice the wording. It wasn't about who gives them the best chance to win right now. It wasn't about who made the bigger plays. It wasn't about upside arm talent or the spark this offense desperately needs. It was about sticking to the plan. And that's the problem. The plan was built around Gabriel from the start, and now the organization seems unwilling to adjust, even when the evidence is right in front of them. Rees complimented Shadur earlier, sure, but when it came time to talk about the future, he veered right back to protecting the status quo. This wasn't just preference, it was confirmation. Rees made it clear the staff views Gabriel as their development project, the guy they're invested in, the quarterback they're determined to validate, no matter how underwhelming the results have been. And that means everything Shadur does will be measured through a harsher lens, judged against expectations the staff never truly set for Gabriel. The message between the lines was simple. Shadur can shine, compete, and elevate the offense. But the organization is still quietly steering the ship toward Gabriel. Not because he's better, but because he's the quarterback they chose first. If there was a single moment that stripped away every excuse, every carefully worded explanation, and every attempt at process over results, it was the play Tommy Rees tried to slide past the media. The identical concept run twice, once with Dillon Gabriel and once with Shedeur Sanders. The same formation, the same read, the same defensive look. Two quarterbacks, one undeniable truth. When the play was called for Gabriel earlier in the game, he chose the safe option. He checked it down. Short gain, minimal impact, drive stalls. It was the predictable conservative decision that has defined Cleveland's offense all season. No explosion, no risk, no reward. But when Shadur got that same exact call, he didn't blink. He didn't hesitate. He took the shot. He trusted his arm, trusted the route, trusted the moment, and delivered a near game-changing throw down the field. That single decision created more offensive momentum than some entire drives with Gabriel under center. Rees even admitted that when the ball left Shedur's hand, he genuinely believed it was going to be caught. That is not how coaches talk about developmental backups. That's how they talk about quarterbacks who can flip a game on one play. And that's why this moment matters so much. It exposed the philosophical divide the Browns are facing internally. Gabriel plays not to lose. Shadur plays to win. Gabriel follows instructions. Shadur sees opportunities. Gabriel checks down. Shadur attacks. This wasn't just a difference in style. It was a difference in ceiling. Yet somehow, even after this play, the organization continues to talk around the obvious. They praise the throw, but not the quarterback. They acknowledge the spark, but not the shift it demands. They recognize the talent, but refuse the commitment that should naturally follow. That one play revealed everything. Shadur isn't just a young quarterback learning the ropes. He's the player who gives this offense an identity it desperately lacks. And the fact that Cleveland still can't embrace that reality? That says more about the Browns than it ever will about him. If there was ever a moment that exposed the Browns' deeper offensive problems, Tommy Rees spelled it out without even realizing it. He admitted that Cleveland ranks dead last in the entire NFL in first down production, averaging barely 4 yards on the opening play of each series. That number isn't just bad, it's catastrophic. It means every drive starts behind the chains, every sequence feels uphill, and every defensive coordinator knows exactly how to suffocate this offense. And when your offense lives in second and long and third and long, you don't need a quarterback who plays it safe. You need someone who can change the math with one throw. Someone who can create chunk plays, stretch the field, and force defenses to stop crowding the line. Someone who can deliver sparks even when the structure around him is falling apart. In other words, you need exactly what Shedeur Sanders brings. Boom. Rees danced around this truth, but it was impossible not to see. The Browns don't have the run game dominance to grind out drives. They don't have the offensive line stability to rely on long, methodical marches. They don't have the luxury of calling conservative, safe football, because conservative football is precisely what has buried them in last place. Shadur is the only quarterback on the roster with the arm strength to hit deep outbreaks, the confidence to attack vertically, and the mentality to swing momentum in a single play. He proved it in his debut, even while under duress, delivering throws that instantly push the offense into scoring range. Yet somehow, despite all of this, the organization continues clinging to a system built for small gains and careful decisions. A system that doesn't match the reality of their own weaknesses. The truth is simple. This offense cannot survive without explosive plays, and Shadur is the only cornerback who can consistently create them. But until the Browns fully accept that reality, they'll keep fighting uphill battles, while the quarterback who could change everything waits for a franchise willing to let him loose. By the time Tommy Rees wrapped up his press conference, one reality had become impossible to ignore. Shedeur Sanders isn't battling another quarterback. He's battling an entire system that was never built for him. And no matter how much talent he shows or how much fight he displays, the truth is painfully simple. The Browns are holding him back more than any defense he'll ever face. Rees kept circling back to the same themes: process, patience, development. But the more he talked, the clearer it became that Shadur is climbing a ladder that the coaching staff keeps moving. He's expected to shine without chemistry, lead without preparation, and execute behind an offensive line that still can't consistently do its job. And when the system collapses, he's the one who gets questioned. That's not development. That's sabotage covered in polite language. Rees praised Shedur's arm talent, his composure, and his ability to elevate the offense when everything around him was breaking down. He acknowledged the plays that sparked momentum, the throws that should have been game-changing, and the resilience that kept Cleveland competitive when they had no business staying in the game. But every compliment came with a catch, a hesitation, a subtle reminder that the plan still revolves around Gabriel. Shadur is being asked to prove himself under harsher conditions than any rookie should face, and then wait patiently while the organization protects a quarterback who hasn't produced anything close to the same spark. It's a cycle that keeps repeating. Shadur does everything right, the system does everything wrong, and somehow the staff continues leaning toward the quarterback they're emotionally invested in, rather than the one who might actually save their season. The truth is brutal, but undeniable. Shedeur Sanders is a star, trapped in a structure that wasn't built to showcase him. And unless Cleveland wakes up, or unless Shadur finds a franchise that actually values what he brings, the Browns are at risk of losing the one quarterback who could change everything for them. before he ever gets the real chance he deserves. After everything we've seen, everything Tommy Rees tried to explain, and everything this coaching staff continues to dance around, one truth sits front and center. Shedeur Sanders deserves better than what Cleveland is giving him. This isn't just a quarterback competition anymore. It's a slow, frustrating unraveling of a young star being forced to fight battles he shouldn't have to fight. Shadur has shown poise, arm talent, deep ball mastery, and the kind of competitive fire that lifts an entire offense. He stepped into chaos with almost no preparation and still kept the Browns within striking distance against one of the NFL's most aggressive defenses. He delivered big throws under pressure, made the right decisions with the game on the line, and proved he can handle moments that would break most inexperienced quarterbacks. But the organization around him? That's where everything falls apart. Cleveland keeps preaching process, yet refuses to build a process that supports him. They talk about developmental patience, yet give all meaningful reps to a quarterback who hasn't sparked the offense all season. They praise Shedur's playmaking, yet avoid committing to him. And every time he rises to the challenge, the coaching staff responds with hesitation instead of belief. It's a cycle that doesn't lead to growth, it leads to stagnation. And if it continues, it will waste the prime years of a quarterback who's capable of much more. Shadur needs a franchise that sees his potential as something to build around, not something to manage or tiptoe around. A place where his aggressive mindset, deep ball confidence, and natural leadership aren't treated like risks, but like the weapons they truly are. A place where development isn't just a press conference talking point, but an actual plan built around maximizing talent. If Cleveland can't give him that, and right now all signs point to no, then staying here will only hold him back. Because the truth is painfully clear. The first team that fully commits to Shedeur Sanders is the team that's going to unlock a star. And unless the Browns wake up fast, that team won't be Cleveland. It'll be the franchise smart enough to grab him the moment he finally gets the chance to leave.